Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four was supposed to survive Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? According to the screenwriter Michael Waldron, who confirmed to Empire Magazine this week that the original plan was for an alternate post-credits scene that would have left the MCU multiverse in a very different place and the night janitor of the 838 Baxter building with a much easier night. And this video is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform for building your brand. More on them later. In a recent interview with Empire, Waldron talked about his original ending for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. He said, quote, "In my very first draft, I wrote a tag just for the hell of it of the events of the movie being recorded and reviewed by somebody in the Baxter building and a stretchy hand coming out of frame to run it back. Reed is probably my favorite Marvel Comics character, so I was always gunning to get him in here somewhere." In the weeks and months after Multiverse of Madness came out, we have been learning more and more about the various versions of this film, from the earlier version from director Scott Derrickson and writer C. Robert Cargill to the rewrite overseen by new director Sam Raimi and writer Michael Waldron. In an interview with Sci-Fi, Waldron actually confirmed that the entire Illuminati sequence entered the picture with his first draft. Waldron said he outlined a version without the Illuminati, but then as he was writing that out, he wanted to go off the rails, make his first draft a wilder, more drunk version of itself, and here was when he added the Illuminati massacre. And Waldron said he was completely surprised how receptive everyone was to this, and how the final version of the movie included this wild sequence in it. In this interview, he went on to say his original lineup was actually close to this final one, saying he thought, "Here's the craziest version. There's no way we'll actually get to do this," but by the end, they actually were. Since much of Waldron's dialogue about the multiverse and incursion seemed inspired directly by what Reed Richards says in the 2015 John Hickman comics that kicks off the Time Running Out storyline on the road to Secret Wars, it's safe to assume that Reed Richards was really at the top of his Illuminati lineup in his first draft, the same draft that had this alternate post-credits scene written out. So therefore, the original plan was for the Scarlet Witch to murder Reed Richards, but then for Reed to have survived that and to have returned in the post-credits scene. But how the hell could Reed Richards survive what Scarlet Witch did to him? Just as a reminder, so in the comics, Reed Richards is actually meant to be near indestructible. Secret Invasion begins with the Skrull posing as Hank Pym blasting Reed with the molecular destabilizer that dematerializes Reed's anatomy. But Reed survives it. World War Hulk features Hulk beating Reed to a flattened, bruised form, but Hulk doesn't actually kill Reed there, he just kind of overwhelms and paralyzes him. Now, the Scarlet Witch is meant to be the most powerful being in the MCU, and if she can kill Black Bolt, one would think she could kill Reed Richards. The unraveling of his body like string cheese, the pain Reed endures, the way she pops his head like a piñata is as visceral a death as the MCU can really give us. And for good measure, let's show it again. Still, visually, this isn't too different from the molecular destabilization that Reed undergoes in Secret Invasion. And as I said, Reed does go on to survive that. His body gets stretched out and tortured by the Skrulls as they try to figure out how his physiology works until he gets freed by Abigail Brand and he resumes coming up with a way to distinguish between humans and Skrull imposters. Fun fact we should bring up here, one of Reed Richards' few weaknesses in the comics was revealed in recent years to be, besides his over-curious intellect and ego, tickling. But I wouldn't describe Wanda twisting his limbs to be a tickle fight. Waldron's confirmation here suggests that Reed's lifeless ribbony form on the floor of the Baxter Foundation could have still been alive.
I'm not dead!
Yeah, he says he's not dead.
Yes, he is. I'm not!
I don't know if you've gotten news yet, but this whole internet thing looks like it's here to stay. Hope so. That means if you're trying to get that new business of yours up and running, you're gonna need a website. So you're gonna need Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence for that new business. You don't want your website looking like something that was hard-coded into HTML back in 1998. You want it looking and functioning like the cream of the 2022 crop. And Squarespace can help you do just that. Squarespace has a bunch of great features to help your business be successful. You can present members-only gated content, create email campaigns, or add online booking for appointments or sessions, all from the Squarespace interface. For me, my favorite aspect is the analytics section. That's where Squarespace makes it easy to dig into what's working, what's not, and figure out what levers you can pull to make your business even more successful. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/newrockstars to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. That's squarespace.com/newrockstars for 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. While the corpses of Black Bolt and Captain Carter aren't really lingered on after their deaths, the stretched out pieces of Reed's corpse remain remain strewn across the floor in various shots as the Scarlet Witch fights the other members of the Illuminati. So in this post-credit scene as described, Reed recovered well enough to play back the events of the movie. I assume not the full events of the movie, because how would the Baxter Foundation have a recording of that? No, he's probably referring to the Ultron Sentry security footage to figure out exactly what went down there. Perhaps to learn more about the status of the Wanda Maximoff in Universe 838, whose body was hijacked by the Scarlet Witch dreamwalking into her. Perhaps he was seeking to understand whether his universe's Wanda is to blame for the massacre, or if she still shows any signs of possession. You gotta imagine Reed Richards, after he told this threat about his wife Sue Storm and his children Franklin and Valeria Richards, maybe he's watching the footage back to see if he has any reason to worry about his family.
I have children of my own. I understand your pain.
Is their mother still alive?
Yes.
Good. There will be someone left to raise them.
Reed surviving is actually pretty good news for the fate of that innocent possessed 838 Wanda, because now there is a living witness to explain to the loved ones of the other members of the Illuminati that the Wanda who killed those people wasn't really to blame. Like, I don't really know if 838 Mordo ever made it out of that trench, or if he did, he would be that sympathetic to that Wanda. He wasn't really in the room where all the others were killed, though Reed's survival sets up Reed to be a key peacekeeper and defense witness to whatever trial faces this Wanda next. But we also must wonder, since this was the 838 universe's friggin' Baxter Foundation building, its supposedly most secure, impenetrable research lab and fortress, fortified by the people who defeated Thanos in this reality, what else could have been kept in this structure that a recovering Reed Richards would play back the security footage to check on? Other secret portals, like the one Stephen Strange used to hide the Book of Vishanti? Maybe information hidden on the servers about other universes, since Christine Palmer knew enough to categorize them as 838 and the others as 616. It just wouldn't surprise me if the 838 Baxter Foundation is the citadel that contains a codex or a roadmap for the known multiverse, and Reed would need to make sure that it wasn't stolen or destroyed. I mean, clearly this Reed is already something of an expert in the multiverse. It's likely that the guy already knows that his familial succession will lead to Nathaniel Richards, aka Kang the Conqueror, and he wants to keep that secret from getting out, or from someone from finding out, and targeting his family to prevent the Kang threat from rising. Ultimately, this just gives us hope that the John Krasinski variant of Reed Richards could still live on in the MCU multiverse, either this 838 universe variant or some other one, as Marvel Studios moves toward a Fantastic Four film and Secret Wars. It's just inevitable that at some point the new MCU Reed will meet his variants played by other actors, including Krasinski, in a Council of Reeds team-up, the way Tom Holland Peter Parker met his multiversal variants. Would you have preferred this ending / post-credit scene for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? Do you want John Krasinski's version of the character to live on in the multiverse? Or are you really done with that version of the character, as much as the Scarlet Witch was? Comment down below with your thoughts, and follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at EA Voss. Subscribe to Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching. Bye.